The answers are just sitting right there in front of you. And all you have to do is look at them and read and get inspiration from nature, and you've got the key to the door. Into your shaping bay you go.
Welcome to Water People, a podcast about the aquatic experiences that shape who we become back on land. I'm your host, Lauren Hill, joined by my partner, Dave Rastovich. Here we get to talk story with some of the most interesting and adept waterfolk on the planet. We acknowledge the Bundjalung Nation, the traditional custodians of the land and waters where we work and play, who have cared for this sea country for tens of thousands of years. Respect and gratitude to all First Nations people, including elders past, present, and emerging. This season is supported by Patagonia, whose purpose-driven mission is to use business to save our home planet. Today we're in conversation with our youngest guest yet, 11-year-old surfer, shaper, and filmmaker Hunter Williams. This year, Hunter won the Grom Shorts category at the Noosa International Surf Film Festival with his movie Heirloom. Informing an impressive depth of knowledge about surfboard building and design is Hunter's spectral surfing skill. He talks us through peak moments of tube time and critical hang tens. Hunter's infectious wonder and curiosity are a potent reminder of the value of intergenerational relationships in all our lives. So we've had a bit of a busy, kind of eventful last couple of months. What have you been up to?
Well, at least, I think it was 2 moons ago, I was on the road with Jack Mccoy and his daughter's husband, Luke Campbell, and we were travelling around Oz sharing his film Blue Horizon that Jack made 20 odd years ago, and myself and Andy Irons were in that. And Jack was in his, mid to late 70s. He had been touring and making surf films for decades. Like, I think one of the theatres we showed at, he showed a film there 50 years prior.
Wow.
Like, incredibly long career of making films. And so anyway, we were on the road doing that. And I was a bit reluctant at first, and that's just, I don't know, through hyper socializing and stuff, I can get a bit tired and a bit overwhelmed by that sometimes. But generally, it's really fun. And when it's happening, you've seen me be in that sort of situation and step into it and really enjoy it. But I always get a bit sort of hesitant beforehand. And that was the case with Jack. But, he'd had a pretty serious lung issue for going on a decade, just over a decade actually. And the last year or so, he definitely struggled more than that previous decade of hardship with breathing in particular. And so when he was saying, "Come on, Dave, let's get on the road, let's do this," I was like, "All right, let's do it." And so as soon as it started, I was so stoked that we were doing that. But do you remember when we caught that Jack, the first moment, was down in St Kilda in the cold streets of Melbourne?
I almost thought he was joking. He was so winded, belabored by his body. He was barely walking. He was asking not to walk and talk at the same time because he was having a really difficult time with his health. So it was a shock. It was a total shock for he is a big personality and
a big man.
A big man and a big talker, wraps you up in his world immediately. Usually that was my experience of him. So it was a big change to see him like that.
Yeah, definitely very tired.
And then a huge transformation.
Exactly.
To see him on stage.
Yeah.
To be filled with mana, with life, with the energy of doing what he loves to do.
Yeah,
that was radical.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yes.
So he would literally be asleep and kind of in and out of consciousness. And then, the lights would go on and the cinema's screen would turn on and all the people were in their seats and we would get under each of his armpits, wake him up and say, "All right, Jack, it's time." And he would just come to life like a flower to the sun in the morning, He'd just stand up and unfurl, and then he'd sit there and probably, aside from being in the tube with his camera shooting pictures or hugging one of his family members, I think his favourite place was being on a stage with one of his films behind him and a full packed theatre in front of him and a captive audience. And he just loved it and he was so good at it. And so, he would just come to life and he would talk story and he would speak. He had a very clear sort of slideshow presentation, and it was his sort of backstory spiel, he would call it. And he loved to give people a bit more backstory on the film he was about to show. And so it really felt like you were in on something special that night by making the effort to come and get together. And he would reward you with these cool backstories, you know? And so he started those nights with talking about his story of when he was around 12 years old and he was in Hawaii growing up. He went down to body surf one of like Makapu or Sandy Beach, one of the really heaving, crystal clear beach breaks in Hawaii. And he stuffed his head in some tubes and just couldn't believe what he was seeing. And he raced home afterwards and went to his mum, Mum, you're not going to believe this world that's out there. And she was just sort of like, yes, dear, very nice. That's good. I'm glad you're having fun. And she didn't get it. And he spoke of how in that moment he realized he wanted to get a camera, get back in that space and show her and then everyone else how magical and fleeting that space is. And then he did it and he never stopped until he was 77. And the day before he left his body, he was showing Blue Horizon. He was showing his water footage because when we shot Blue Horizon, he was still filming with high-speed film cameras, huge, massive lumps of old but incredible technology. He was still able to swim right into the pit at Chopu and be this big, incredible waterman in those powerful spaces. So he really loved showing Blue Horizon and all of those shots.
Before we get to the wrap up that I feel like you're getting to, I wanted to ask you how it was for you seeing Blue Horizon 20 years later. I know it was an especially special experience for me because your dad is in the film and our little boy Minnow got to see his grandpa moving and talking in a way that he never got to because your dad died before he was born.
Yeah, there's just so many intertwined threads here in this conversation, and I hope to be able to touch on all of them because they all feel really strong. But that was definitely the highlight of seeing Blue Horizon again. I hadn't watched it since 20 years ago, so it was really cool to be in the theatre, have you next to me, Minnow on my lap, and my dad come on screen and say the things that were captured, which is his line, you know, if you feel in your heart that you want to do something, you think in your mind that it's possible, then the only thing left to do is go out and do it. And, you know, think it, feel it, do it was his line in that film. And there were nights where, especially actually in our local area at the Lennox Head screening, where the biggest audience reaction to the whole movie was that moment when my dad said that, and it blew me away. Minnow was on my lap and I was bawling my eyes out, of course, because I cried every time that scene came on out of joy and just gratitude. And I just was whispering in Minnow's ear, listen to that, mate. That's your your granddad's spirit, like lighting all these people up. You know, 20 years later, he's not here now in his body, but look at that, listen to that. And everyone's cheering. And that was so special. I hadn't heard that term really before that was captured, and it certainly wasn't a mantra. And what I mentioned in Blue Horizon was that my dad taught me a meditation technique, and he did. It was like mind focus, the importance of being able to have long, sustained focus on anything. And once I felt that in one regard, it would be something I could apply to anything. And I don't know, do you see that with me? Do you think that's something I have? You know, because I feel like I can pick up an instrument, I can write when I need to, I can learn things that I haven't been able to do before. And I all bring it back to that, being able to have long sustained focus. So, and just not get in my own way and overthink things, just feel like I can do it and do it. And if I can't, we'll just learn. And so that was true. But the clarity of it, Jack really brought that out of my dad, and it was amazing. And it was hilarious to see two big alpha males together.
I would have loved to see them in a room together.
Fantastic, yeah.
One of the reasons we wanted to chat with Hunter at this point in time was because of Jack's recent passing and the fact that Hunter happened to be at the very last screening of Blue Horizon on the sunny coast near where he lives, and was able to connect with Jack, which is a really special kind of full circle moment in the few screenings that I got to be at. The thing that probably lit up Jack the most was seeing all the Groms there. The Groms that he'd invite up onto the stage and give away free gear to. He really had a strong sense of legacy and making sure young people were connecting with his work.
Yeah, and the past and learning from others' lives and hardships. And what's interesting to me right now, looking back through all of this period, the last few months, and then this story in general, is chatting with Hunter. I just see a little me. I just was so blown away by his curiosity and his complete obsession with surfing and seeing everything as surfing. And I can really relate to that and remember back to being his age, but existing in a surfing world when I was that age, so the early 90s, where if you were quirky and had other interests like I did, it was really not that supported, and I was pretty much felt ostracized most of the time, or like a weirdo, or just didn't fit in. And I remember most of the time it didn't really faze me, but it did still. And there were times that were hard, and there were times where I felt really lonely, especially as a young sponsored surfer around other sponsored surfers. I just did not feel like I fit in and could really be myself around others. So when sitting and talking with Hunter and realizing he's growing into a surfing world now that is not like that so much. There are places that are still very monocultural and singularly focused, but in general, he feels comfortable being himself. And that's amazing to look at a young boy about to become like a teenager and move into that pretty turbulent time in our lives, to see him feel supported and to see him being himself and not so scared of that is so heartwarming, and it makes me think about our legacies and what we pass on through being ourselves. And if we do make art, then what we pass on through our art, like Jack did. Because for me, I recently, and this was like the week or two after Jack passed, I listened to the InXS song Disappear. There's a remix of it by Morales, and it's a song that is in Bunyip Dreaming. If people can look that up somehow or get it, actually it's not on the internet, so you have to find a DVD or a VHS of it and watch the sequence. It's this incredible song with Luke Egan and Munga Barry surfing a remote, beautiful part of Australia, and the lyrics in the song are about a woman. It's about Michael Hutchins singing about a woman who he says, "You're so fine, you blow my mind, and you make the world disappear." And then he says, "Disappear, disappear, disappear." He says it over and over. When I saw that, I was 12 years old. My sister got me that movie that Jack made in 1992 for Christmas, and I watched it like I was a Buddhist monk repeating a mantra just over and over and over and over and over. And so when I was a kid, I interpreted that sequence as the world is what the singer was singing about. It's so fine, it blows your mind. And the word disappear meant to me, if we didn't look after this coast, these beautiful places that were in the images in the film, the coast, this life, this way of being, surfing, would disappear. And I thought all of that because Jack paired those lyrics and that music with images of awe. Like it was Jack, like he was a kid again in Hawaii, wanting to show his mum how beautiful this world is, how beautiful that world of surf and coast really is. And when he coupled that with those lyrics and also the line, "Don't destroy what you came to enjoy," which was a final sort of graphic print that came on the screen at the end of Bunyip Dreaming, I interpreted that as an absolute like love sequence poem, love letter to the world of the ocean and coast and surfing. And I hadn't thought of any of that, right? I hadn't thought of any of that since I was 12 until Jack left his body. I heard that piece of music again because I inherited all of his CDs and DVD collection, and that was in it. And I realized how malleable we are when we are of that age. How when we are 11, 12 years old, we're just like wet clay. You can just shape us so easily, and you can have moments that traumatize you and make life really hard and can continue on making life hard for a long time, or you can be inspired and lit up and supported. And I felt that from Jack's films. And then here we are 30 years later, and little Hunter is that same age, and he saw one of Jack's films, got to shake his hand, say aloha, hi Jack, and all of that. And then he gets lit up by that experience. And all of that's really sweet, and it's kind of poetic and beautiful, but it made me really think about being able to cope with struggle and hardship, and especially being able to cope as a young man. Like when we look at people taking their lives, young men are a real high number. So 75% of all suicides in Australia are young men. Males are obviously not learning how to navigate emotional turbulence, navigate life and hardship very well. And so taking your life is a really common route for a lot of overwhelmed men. My dad took his life. And so I look at all of these things we're talking about right now, like, wow, look at all these entwining lines, like how to deal with your life so you don't get so lost and so traumatized and struggling so much that that's your only route is to take your life. And I just think all of those thoughts and just feel so stoked for someone like Hunter that he is growing into a world that will equip him with more tools and more comfort too, to just be himself.
Yeah.
And they're all just, to me, that's just, I guess, probably quite common type of reflection you have when death has occurred. You start to really review things and go, oh, who am I? Who was I when I first encountered this person? So I'm thinking, who am I when I encountered Jack Mccoy's surf films? Well, I was a 12-year-old grommet who he moulded through his art just by sending it out into the world. It's just wonderful. I really have enjoyed this last period of time in terms of all of the real conversations I've been able to have with surfers of such a varied age, from the Wayne Lynches and Morris Coles and Rusty Millers and Dick Van Stralens, all the way down to Hunter, who's, just starting a surfing life.
And really picking up the threads of the legacies of surf filmmaking, design, and paying close attention to the patterns in nature and innovating with them. That's what I found so exciting about chatting with him and connecting with him, is imagining where he's going to take all of these threads next.
Yeah, so wonderful. I don't know about you, but I just feel so hopeful in meeting young people who have really attentive ears, really wide eyes, and are supported. That's the biggest thing. Like seeing his parents lovingly support, but not push, just be like, okay, you've got an interest in storytelling and film and design. Well, hey, let's dive right into it.
Let's make space for it.
It's just fantastic.
I know. Didn't we all want that?
Oh, we all do. And we got it.
We
and we
still
get
do.
it in some ways and we don't in others. But it's just so heartwarming when you see a child supported.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
We had such a lovely chat with Hunter, and we hope you feel the stoke and the fizz and just the pure joy for this incredible surfing life, like we got to feel when we were sitting in the room with him.
Agreed. There's waves in the Northern Territory.
There is?
Mm-hmm. Arnhem Land.
Point waves.
Point.
Longboard waves.
Noosa style.
Actually.
Yeah. You just got to look out for crocs.
And does anyone surf?
Occasionally.
Do you need like a big swell to get there, or?
Oh, but there's waves all over this big island, which is cool. And who's probably come across so many of them, but maybe didn't ride them? Was
Cook?
Malcolm.
Oh yeah,
Your
Malcolm
buddy,
Douglas.
Malcolm Douglas. I can't believe you know his name. That's just the coolest thing ever. My guy, when I was 11, who inspired me for adventures like that, was Albie Mangles. And when my friends and I would do little adventures when we were kids, which were silly little adventures around Burleigh Headland or something, like we weren't really in the wild, but we were pretending that we were. If we came across a challenge, we'd be like, I'd be right, I'll be Albie Mangles. And that was our mantra. That was our line that we'd always say to each other, I'll be right, I'll be Albie Mangles. Have you got one like that from Malcolm? Does he have any sayings where...
No, not really.
I can't remember his show. Does he start or end in any particular way?
Just always.
He starts with a car driving through the massivest puddle.
Yeah.
Puddle.
And then like all the stuff goes everywhere.
Really?
It's quite funny.
Is he a fisher? Like, is his main thing fishing? No?
Just anything.
Anything.
Really.
Is he like a hunter? Is most of his things that he does on his shows like catching animals or freeing animals or catching things to eat? Or is it
He
just...
does usually do that. But then he also brings along like stuff for damper and
Oh, just cooking up.
yeah, just
Yeah, I just can't remember him. There was another one called the Leyland Brothers.
yeah.
You seen them?
Yeah.
They're adventurers too. But I feel like there's a history of that in Australia, which is really cool, of people who like have just got real bush skills or ocean skills, and then also are really good at telling the stories of those adventures.
Yeah. I feel like
Is that something that interests you too, like the storytelling bit?
it's really interesting. Like
Really? Why?
Well, you kind of get different stories from different places. And often if you get quite a couple of stories from different places, then you can pretty much like imagine exactly what it's like in all of the stories. It's really cool.
So you reckon that like the storytelling part of it is like the way you can share your experience with people so they get an idea of the place, like, or the thing that's happening?
Definitely.
That's what we've come to see with you and your work. Well, I wouldn't call it work, I'd call it play. But the way you have played and made some short stories through your surfing experience. Lauren, do you remember when we first saw Hunter?
I do. We first encountered Hunter's play work. I'm on the jury for the Noosa International Surf Film Festival that just started last year, and you were one of the inaugural filmmakers, one of the first filmmakers to enter a film into that festival. And we all sat down in this very living room with the projector on with our little boy Minnow, who was 6 then, and we watched you surfing the beautiful points of your home break and just perched on the nose. And not only that, but you were just so stoked and so frothy. And that was conveyed so beautifully in the film that you made. It made us want to go surfing. And for me, as someone who aspires to tell stories about surfing and make films about surfing, like that's the highest compliment. If you make other people want to go surfing with what you make, you've like nailed it.
Yeah, that's kind of like the interesting thing about like surf films. You get to see different places, but it also makes you want to go and surf those places. Like it's really quite interesting.
And where do you live, Hunter?
I live out at Karam, which is in the Noosa hinterland.
And how long have you been surfing?
9 years, I think, around that.
What do you mostly ride?
Well, up at Noosa, it's usually quite small, so I ride my log. But then also when it gets like hip to shoulder, I'll ride like a fish or something wider. And then sometimes it gets big and low tide and just square running keg. And that's a really great time to grab a single fin.
Oh, wow, a single fin. I like this.
That was unexpected.
That was a
an
specific
unexpected
choice.
twist.
Why would you choose the single fin, you reckon?
I find them like really good because you've also got like the sweep running right down the beach, and they're so thick and you can get in a lot earlier than the rest of the people on their thrusters.
Gotcha.
So like...
And what about in the tube on a single fin? Have you felt that yet?
Yeah, they're like so thick and they just point. It's like point and shoot, and the wave and the board does everything for
Point
you.
and shoot. I can't believe you've already come across that term as an 11-year-old. Point and shoot. That's like adult surf experience where if like when you ride big waves, a lot of the times the boards you ride are real pointy. They're real long, and they used to always be single fins, but now there's all kinds of things that you can ride. But that is one of the cool feelings of big waves, is that there's so much energy coming from the wave that all you need to do is point and shoot. And you don't have to wiggle, you don't have to do any up and down things. You just...
I actually was at the Surfy's Point at Phillip Island, and it might have been 4 foot, probably about that. And I remember there was this one bomb that came through, and I paddled for it, and I took off, and I was on my 20, and it was really funny because I dropped in, and I was going so fast that very luckily the wave's a fat one, and I was just going straight, and I was going so fast, and I feel like on a 20 they're really fun because you can go super fast, but I feel like on my single fin you can control the speed really well.
Wow.
I mean, not saying that wasn't fun, that was really fun.
Yes.
But I feel like if I was on my single fin, I might have been able to actually turn. Not that you
Well,
need to, though.
I would say that it's probably taken Lauren and I, about 30 years of surfing to get to that epiphany. So you're miles ahead of most of us when we were 11 there.
Definitely me. I just learned about the speed of twin fins about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So
that was after me saying, Lauren, you need to try a twin fin. You need to try a twin fin. You need to try it like very
I was
annoyingly.
resistant. I was one fin all the way
Yep.
for the first 20 years of my surfing life.
Yeah, single fin
Wow.
gal. Yep.
Yeah.
Singles are pretty good.
Yeah.
They are. I think so,
It's
too.
all great. They're all so wonderful. Speaking of such things as fins and design, we just learnt from you telling us that you had the opportunity to chat with George Greenough.
Yes.
How did that come about?
Well, I was, my mum worked out that you could get his number I don't know where from, but somewhere or another. And I was always thinking, like, I'd better call him one stage or another. And then we were actually just at the car park a little bit down from Surfy's Point at Phillip Island, and we just thought, that's a really great time to call because, like, it's going dark, and I don't know why, but it just came on. And I thought, I need to call
That's
him.
the time, yeah.
And I did, and the first time it just went to his voice message thingy. And then I left him a little message, and then I tried again, and this time it went like, bring, 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 bring. Oh, hello. I really did. I got a fright.
Because that was him.
It was him.
He said, oh, hello.
I jumped. I was like,
What did you say?
who's that?
Did he say, who's that? Who are you? You're calling me.
I was like, oh, hey, George, my name's Hunter Williams, and I'm 11 years old, and I like to surf and shape all my own boards. And it kind of went off down that path for quite a little bit.
Wow.
I was really stoked.
And was he stoked?
Yeah, he sounded pretty stoked.
I bet he did.
And then we had a little chat about, like, hydrodynamics and different things like that. And, like, he said he's writing a short book at the moment about, like, how we can get inspiration from nature. And I actually was like, that's crazy because I've just made a movie about how that happens, like, with the cormorant's wings got concave in it. So, like, when the wind comes up off the wave, it pushes into the concave, lifting the cormorant up. And, like, a platypus's tail with, like, flex as it pushes it up and down. It's like on his super speedy spoons, how that thing flexes, like, off a bottom turn and gets flying down the line.
Exactly. Variable rocker. Do you remember him saying that?
Yeah, that was
He would have
crazy.
said, Hunter, it's all about variable rocker.
That's exactly what he said.
That's so great. You would have stoked him out so much. So George's daily routine of surfing in the morning, having a big lunch, having a kickback. So his thing of having a siesta, a sleep every day. He's 84 and he's still surfing every day. So these are like tips on how to live a long, great surfing life. So he grows his food, he catches his fish, he'll go surfing every morning. He doesn't make plans more than a couple days out. And I learnt this a few years ago when I said to George, one day it was like a Sunday or something. I said, George, what are you doing on Thursday? I'd love to come and have a cup of tea. And he laughed. He said, Dave, Thursday? That's 4 days away. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. The wind could be north, the wind could be south, there could be some fish, there might be a new soil. 4 days? Why are you asking me 4 days? And he got all angry about it. And I was like, I got embarrassed. And I was like, yeah, what am I thinking? Why am I thinking so far into the future? So that's another one of George's tips on how to stay happy is to stay in the moment.
Just whatever's happening then and
Yes.
there, live it.
Exactly. So he would have been so stoked because he lives alone and he is 84 and he's lived alone a very long time, but he loves reaching out and talking with people, and he does that every afternoon after his kickback. He'll wake up at 1:30, 2 o'clock. He'll have a cup of tea and he'll have some sort of sweet cake or a cookie, and then he'll get on the phone and he'll talk to his friends all over the world. And now you are one of those friends, and I reckon you would be the youngest friend he has. So
Wow.
you got to keep calling George. He'll be stoked. Especially when you're saying things like cormorant wings, concave, platypus tail, flex. So good. So good.
Yeah. I mean, it's all pretty easy because the answers are just sitting right there in front of you. And all you have to do is look at them and read and get inspiration from nature. And you've got the key to the door. Open into your shaping bay you go.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Hunter, I heard you say today that George is someone who has inspired you. Why? What is it about George and his work and his play that means something to you?
I really find that George is just a wonderful person, and also the life that he's lived and like all the inspiration you can get from him. Like he's even like filmed dolphins for 20 years to make a 20-minute movie just because of the inspiration from the actual dolphin. Like it's really amazing, and he's pretty inspirational.
I feel like he's a master at what you were talking about, at paying attention, like paying attention to the world around him and using that inspiration to make new things, like to get creative in fresh ways.
Definitely. Like, even when I was on the phone to him, he was like, oh, I'm making a lure to go tailor fishing off my boat. I was like, you're going to be doing that quite late into the night because this is, like, way later than now. And he said, oh, I'm just going out in my boat. I'm just driving down to the jetty to get my boat and go fishing. I was like, wow. Like, over the phone call, at first he was painting the lure. He added the eye into the end. He tied it onto his rod. He packed his car, and then he drove off down to the thing. So it's like, it's really funny.
That's so great.
Well, try this question, Hunter. It's the question that we always ask of our guests about a time or experience that changed you, after which you were never the same. Do you have a moment like that? I feel like you really do.
Absolutely do.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You sat up
Okay.
straight
All
when
right,
Mom
all right.
asked
It
that.
was like, so, I don't know, I might have been 3 or 4 years old, and we were surfing Crescent Head with my dad. I was on the front of his board, and it was really fun. Like, there was waves, and it was a really long wave that day. Like, it was going right from the head of the point all the way into pretty much the river mouth. It was
Dreamy.
a perfect day. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, these massive whales popped up, like no more than 50 metres away from us. And they were launching and breaching and spraying and playing and rolling.
Wow.
Like, it was really amazing because I was already having, like, the best surf I'd ever had. And then all of a sudden, these gigantic animals start flopping and playing in their interesting way. It was really cool, though, because not many people have surfed and had that close up. I mean,
100%.
I only know one guy that's had, like, such a close up. It was actually sitting out the back somewhere in Torquay, and it was quite far out, and this massive whale came up from underneath him and breached, and he got flung to the tail, but then his leg rope wrapped around the actual tail of the whale,
Yeah.
and the whale dived back down again, and somehow he just managed to pull the leg rope off and
Wow.
float back up to the surface.
Wow.
That was pretty...
Well, I'm glad that didn't happen to you that day, because he wouldn't have even noticed that you were on his tail, little tiny guy. So how do you think you were different before and after that experience? What changed for you after that, do you think?
I mean, for me, before then, surfing was surfing. Like, you know, you do a piece of art and you paint. You go to the beach and you go surfing. But then after that, my whole life has pretty much just evolved around surfing. Like, I only go to school 4 days a week because on the 5th day I'm like shaping boards, getting inspiration, calling George Greenough, all different things. And it's really helped me through life, like different things. Different situations.
Wow.
And it's always just been there.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I think too, I can see that for you having that experience, and we've experienced this as a family, is that surfing is wave riding, but it's also all the other things that happen around it. And we can think that, but when you actually experience it like you did with the whales, it's another thing. So that's so cool that you felt that. I have to think now that you're in the world of telling stories and making short films and that kind of play, surely that's tied into that experience where there's just so much going on, isn't there, with the surfing life? What are the other things that really excite you when you think about a surfing life? So it's not just the wave riding, but all the other parts of it. What pops up for you in your mind when you think of that?
I actually think like a lot about different boards to experiment with.
Not a lot of people think that.
Nah.
A lot of people get really stuck in doing it one particular way.
And I like riding anything. Like I said earlier, fishers, singles, bodyboards, surf mats, longboards. Give me something and I'll ride it.
Great.
I'll try my best.
When you're eating your cereal, do you eat like one flake at a time one day, and then the next day you'll have like, you won't use a spoon, and the next day you'll use a fork, and the next, are you to that degree? Do you do that like with everything in life?
Experimentalist.
Without meaning to, yes, I do.
That's just you then, yeah. Totally. That's so great. I'm so excited to see where that goes for you, because we live in such an exciting time now as surfers where there's a lot of us are really excited about having different ways of wave riding available. Because like you said, when you live on the Sunshine Coast, you go down there and the waves are small. If you only ride a pointy nose little thruster, that's hard to get some speed in those waves. You're probably going to get pretty bored pretty quick.
Yeah.
So what happens for you when you go to the ocean as an 11-year-old in the year 2025? What's in your mind when you're going to the beach? What are you thinking about?
Well, I think of what the beach could be like, and then I think, okay, so I'm going to grab that board for that, I'm going to grab that board for that, and that board for that. And usually I have at least 3 to 5 boards in the car.
Wow.
I just pack them all in the boot, and when I get there, I'll usually start off on one like my log or my plastic machine, which is like one of Bob's transitional V bottom. He made it with me, and it's 6'2". It's got the craziest V in the tail.
Small version.
Oh yeah.
Can I ride that one day? Can you share that with me one day?
Okay.
There was a little bit of hesitation there. You
I do it with anybody. It's very special. I
Wow.
even sometimes am like, oh, should I be riding it now?
Yes, you should. You should.
Yes, I
They're
should.
made to be ridden and not to be hung on walls.
No, I'm definitely not going to hang mine.
Well, that's really special. So you have them out of like reclaimed seconds blanks too, hey?
Yeah.
So a lot of the boards you're talking about are ones that have been made out of blanks that are going to be thrown out essentially.
Yeah, I mean, Thomas has kind of said, this is my little office here, and there's a place with all the stacked up blanks that we don't really want, and you can come in and grab one anytime, go up to the bay at the back, so long as there's nobody in there, and start shaping. And when he said that, I was really excited. And then so that's what I do now. So like I'll go in, I'll be like, oh, so I want to make this board and I want this rocker and whatever, and I just go and I'm like, I got to pick the blank, and the blanks are pretty much perfect for me anyway.
They would just have a little nick out of them somewhere
Yeah,
or
just
something.
like somewhere. Maybe a dog's accidentally knocked into it and it's fallen on the floor and it's got like a tiny flat bit, 2 centimetres long or whatever. It's like, that isn't going to affect me.
No.
There's some that I could pretty much get glass then and there and you wouldn't understand
Yeah.
what's wrong with it.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really cool. So does that come into your mind when you think about things like, we live in a world where there's lots of plastic in the ocean. We live in a world where there's a lot of things that we need to fix in terms of, sick rivers and different issues. Is that something that's on your mind as an 11-year-old or not so much?
It is in ways. I mean, if I go down to the beach and after a big swell, often there's like millions of microplastics along the shore and I'm not happy, or if I find like a washed up bottle, I'm not all that happy, but otherwise it's pretty good. I mean, like even my dad used to make boards out, like the eco blanks, which were made out of algae. That's another way that we can do it. And then even like you got flax on your board instead of that plastic resin strands.
Yeah.
When you think of all the offcuts, well, hundreds of boards get made a day, so there must be a bit of waste going on. And all the new blanks and stuff.
Yeah, great point.
What's it like, Hunter? You paddle out into the lineup, and what's the vibe like where you surf? What's the culture like? What's good about it and what's not so good about it?
What's good about it is when you paddle out, usually the waves are, 300 days of the year, I reckon the points are pretty good.
You sound like Bruce Brown.
And so like I'll paddle out and there's at least, 10 people that I'll know out there. And like even on a good day, you pretty much got like a whole surfing family out there. Like you surfing grandparent family, you got, other people like your age and then all the way up to 80 years old. It's really amazing. And you paddle out and you all have such a good time. And then there's people that you probably haven't seen before and you give them a good go and then they can either become friends or, they can go surf and just keep surfing on their own, stay open, stay happy. It's pretty nice.
What's not as good about the lineup when you paddle out into it? Sometimes.
That's a hard one. Noosa's pretty perfect most of the time.
It really is.
Sometimes you have the odd person that's come from the Gold Coast and thinks they're like a go-hung. Like, they really want to catch as many waves as they can. Don't care if anyone else actually goes nuts. And I feel like the thing that's the only bad part, but then there's always so many locals out there that then they'll sort it out and say, hey, you're not from here, wait your turn.
Nice.
And even if like there's one or two like people that live there and then there's a whole thing of people that don't live there, we wait our turn and we respect. And like we won't just go straight around someone just because it's our home break. Everyone there's like really happy, they share. Wildlife's great.
What wildlife?
Turtles, dolphins, sharks, whales, cormorants, gannets, everything.
And koalas in the trees right there on the rocks.
Oh yeah,
Not just out in the water, eh?
Oh no, and then like you can look in and walk up and you got kookaburras, koalas. You know, there was one time where like for about a week you'd walk up and down the footpath and nobody would know. But we think there was this massive python up the tree. We think it must have eaten like something like a small wallaby or something like that, and it was just digesting its meal, and it was just sitting there curled up in the tree, just looking down at the people that didn't notice it. So it was pretty funny.
If you've enjoyed listening to the conversation so far, consider also subscribing to Water People on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It'll help other people find the show. And if you're feeling inspired, leave us a review. We love hearing from you. And now a word from the folks who help make the podcast possible. Patagonia is in business to save our home planet. Founded by Yvonne Chenard in 1973, Patagonia is a surf and outdoor apparel company based in Ventura, California. As a certified B Corp and a founding member of 1% for the Planet, the company is recognized internationally for its product quality and environmental activism, as well as its contributions of nearly $230 million to environmental organizations. Its unique ownership structure reflects that the Earth is its only shareholder. Profits not reinvested back into the business are paid as dividends to protect the planet. Learn more at patagonia.com.au. Many of us look to supplements and special diets to maintain our health, but ignore the obvious. We are water. It's what we're made of, and it's what supports every bodily function. Primal water, the water our ancestors thrived on, is energized, alkaline, and made for real hydration. It doesn't come from the industrialized, often contaminated water systems most of us rely on. For the last 25 years, Alkaway has been researching and refining ways to mimic natural water systems. We invite you to learn more about primal water and support their charitable work with BirdLife Australia. Head to alkaway.com to score a $50 discount using code WATERPEOPLE. That's alkaway.com. You got to see Jack Mccoy's final screening of Blue Horizon.
Did ya?
Yeah.
So did you go to the Sunny Coast one?
It was beautiful.
I'm going to cry. I'm so glad. What did you think?
What did you think of that movie?
It was like the best movie I've ever seen, and like to see the two different like pathways, and it's so amazing to see like they're so different but they're the same in one way, but like also to see like your way of like having like a great time in the water, always, you know, being happy, riding different boards. But then you also see the other side where it's like, you know, quite 90s, and it's like, oh, you know, you win, you lose, if you don't do well in this, then you can't do this, and you know, it was quite under pressure in that. And then you were surfing like so loose and just having like the best time ever, riding all different boards and searching for different feelings.
Did you hear Jack speak at all? Was he able to talk that night a little bit?
He spoke a lot.
Did he?
You said a really nice thing to him, didn't you?
Yeah,
What did
I
you say?
said, it's so nice to be able to see like the two different pathways and somebody actually able to recognise the two different paths and have, you know, two different lives. Also, he didn't really say what one he liked. It was like, take your choice, but personally really liked your way. That was really...
Will you take any inspiration from that film into your own filmmaking? Was there anything that you felt inspired by in your own storytelling, maybe?
Really, there's quite a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I really liked it how it was kind of like choose your own way. That was really nice, and let the audience have full control of what they do.
Yeah, I liked that too.
Well, I have to say that knowing Jack and a long time and then being with him for those last few weeks, I wasn't at that show, but the night before we did it at Lennox. And I just know that he was getting such a kick out of how many kids were coming to his screenings when he toured that around Australia. And to know that at his last one, you would have stepped up and said that, it would have really hit him in the heart and made him and his spirit very happy.
He said it's actually worth more to him than a room full of gold bars,
Yeah.
which was
And it is.
pretty nice.
I know it is. That was his reason for living. He'd made his whole life about showing people how special it is to be in the water and looking at and feeling the things that we feel.
And it was also pretty special to see him because, like, he had so much life left in him. Like, he was, like, planning his future films and all this different other stuff. And it was like, I can't believe I actually saw him. Was it that night?
The next day.
He
left his body, yep.
He, like, drove home, he got driven home, went to sleep.
Yep.
And
that was it.
that was it.
Yep.
One of the things that I really appreciate about you, Hunter, is you're very philosophical about your surfing life. You're thinking about it in deeply meaningful ways. Can we talk a little bit about that? Some of your philosophies behind surfing, maybe that you've drawn from people like Tom Blake or others who have studied nature and the joys that we get from nature?
I mean, for me, surfing is really the greatest joy and art form. And every time you paddle out, it's like you've got a blank canvas and you just draw lines on the canvas and it turns out to be a beautiful piece of artwork. And I kind of think that's really a gift that we're able to ride the waves. And because when you think about it, they're like moving lumps of water, and then we've adapted in a way to be able to ride them and have fun with these waves. I mean, they're really interesting also because, like, we are something from land and we're able to share with the ocean and we get these beautiful waves through. And I think, like, it's pretty crazy that these swells are made and the winds are perfect and just make these beautiful things that roll in the form of a wave. And it's really quite wonderful how you can paddle out and catch those waves all the way to shore. And also that, like, it's such a beautiful place that, like Tom Blake said, it's like the church of the open sky. It's like a place for everything, pretty much. Even if you had like a bad day or something, you can go in, wash off, and you'll feel a lot better when you come back out.
100%.
I think that's pretty good.
Where does competitive surfing fit into that church of the open sky for you?
I mean, I really don't mind it because the camaraderie that you can get from it, like, you know, you meet people from overseas. And then you've also got, like, people from the area coming in together as well. That's really nice. You can meet friends.
Yeah.
Where
Get inspiration.
Where are the places that you're dreaming of taking your surfing to in the world? Are there any waves in particular that you like are at the top of your list to surf?
I mean, I wouldn't mind surfing Nias. That'd be pretty good. Indo through there. But mostly actually at the points in Noosa. I mean, that would be pretty wonderful.
I hear you on that. Yep, I'm
Yeah,
pretty much the same.
So the other 1,000 million people who have frequented that place, it's just so beautiful. It's so cool to hear how that place is rubbed off on you, because I feel like being able to be in the water as a kid and look out behind the waves and see, you know, a green sea turtle or a leatherback or something big or a loggerhead. Have you seen a loggerhead up there?
They're beautiful.
You have? Did you smell its breath? Have you ever smelt turtle breath?
Yes, it stinks.
It does.
It really stinks. You know, back to the thing with inspiration from nature, like, actually we found a turtle, River found a turtle that was stranded in a rock pool under a rock, like stuck under there, and the tide had gone out and the thing was still alive, but he pulled it out, wedged it out, and somehow or another, and it was breathing. And I was quite surprised when I went to walk back around the point to find them sitting in a rock pool with quite a small little turtle.
Oh, wow.
And I had a look and I thought, these things can go through the water so nice, I might as well have a look at it. And I bent its fins and they were so flexible, but then they'd spring back. So, like, I saw it using them, like, when it was swimming like that, it would, like, flex and then spring and it would, like, leap forward. And then also it's got, like, a big concave through under its shell. And it's really funny because, like, you know, when it's, like, going over the rocks and stuff, the water would push up and then push up off the rocks, and it would probably, like, push it up and along more.
Yeah, like a seed when you squeeze a seed through your thumb and your finger.
Yeah,
like that, hey?
Like that.
Yeah.
And then also the shape of its shell was, like, rounded at the front and more pointy towards the back, like the airplane wing, pretty much.
That's right. You're right, man. Spot on. That's so cool. Have you ever noticed that their fins can look really similar to humpbacks' fins in that they have a wide bit near to their body, and then it kind of hinges, it comes in, and then it has a long tapered, like, bit that flexes a lot?
it comes, like, out and then it concave taper.
Yeah. So that is the fins I just gave you.
Yeah.
Have that inspiration from them too.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah,
I'm hearing you.
that's-
When you're saying all this, all I can think of is just how much fun you are going to have looking at the world around you, like George, for I hope your whole life. Because look at George, right? He's 84.
84
And you are 11.
Still loves it.
Yes, you got on the phone with him and he would have been so excited to talk shop, like ideas. Oh, what if you mixed that platypus thing with this cormorant thing and this? Blah, blah, blah. Like he would be going off because, you know, his fins, the raked fin
Yeah.
that was back in the day that blew everyone's minds when everyone had those huge stiff D fins.
They
is
were like-
coming from the fastest fish in the
Yeah,
ocean.
they were made from like the tuna.
Exactly.
And like I was saying here on the dart earlier, it's like a miniature version. When he said when it's still got the oil in it, like and juices in its fins, you can feel if you push hard enough that it'll gently bend and get stiffer and stiffer, and then it'll spring back. And I was doing that here, actually realising what he was talking about. Like, you can't usually feel it with bream and stuff, but then when you got, like, one of those streamlined, really fast fish, it really kicks in because those fins propel them so fast, and those fish are so fast
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
it all makes sense.
It does, doesn't it? It's
It
reoccurring
really-
patterns.
Yeah.
We had a chat with some friends a while ago who are master food growers, and they were talking about how surfers have the potential to be really good at growing food because of pattern recognition. So when you can recognise that there's a pattern in the land and you go, oh, that spot there is going to have more water in it, I'll grow these sort of fruits there, and then that's drier, and then you can look at
Like
the land.
down the bottom of our property, probably. I think we might plant like tea trees all along there, and then we've got like a area that gets like moderate. So we've got like a little veggie patch there, and then we've got like a long line of like fruit trees and stuff around the drier area of it.
Awesome.
Paying
That's
attention.
so great.
What's your favorite sensation in surfing right now? Like, what's the feeling that you're like, oh, I just want to do that again and 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 again?
Well, I was actually kind of thinking, because as soon as I got on that fish, I realised that, like those fins are going to help me with, I really like going fast but having control. So like being able to like get speed but then still go like up and around, and being able to control your board in kind of every situation. Being in like, but going fast. I mean, I do still like the feeling of going out of control really fast.
If someone asked you and they weren't a surfer, what is tube riding? What would you say?
I'd say it's where you get put in a cabinet of water that's totally circular, and it's pretty much like a cone of silence and sound at the same time. Like it's like silent and it's glass and you're in it, and then all these sounds are echoing and it's silence. It's kind of out of this world.
Yes, it is. And you live in such a great zone for that. It's like, you know, being able to fit into those Noosa tubes while you're this age, you should do that as much as you can, because it's an experience that is impossible to describe really to people who haven't experienced it, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely.
But it's fun to try. I like that. The glass cabinet, the cone of silence.
How do you compare tube riding to hanging 10? Similar sensation?
Similar.
Different- Yeah? Why?
Similar in different ways.
Yeah.
I kind of find that, like, hanging 10, there's a real art to it. And when you get it right, it's really exciting. And, like, even when you're there, it kind of feels like you're flying, like you're hovering over the water and going along on these waves. It's amazing because, like, pretty much sticking right out of the wave and you're looking over, like, nothing and you just see the wave. You can't see your board anywhere. But then, like, you hop in a tube and it's, like, really quite square and you're, like, sitting and you can just see the water going over and over and over, and you're pretty much underwater but not wet. It's cool. Like, the same exhilarating feeling in different ways.
If you could zoom forward in time 10 years, so you'd be 21, what would you like to be doing at that point in your life?
Travelling around the world, making movies and shaping boards for people.
Very cool. Okay. What about 31, 10 years further?
I'd probably like to hang out around the points a bit more and still shape all
Yep.
the whole time.
What do you see yourself making movies about in the future? Are there any like big topics or places or people that are really gripping your imagination?
Actually, at the moment, I'm planning out a film, and it's going to be about like shapes and how surfing shapes you and how you surf, and then how you surf shapes the boards you ride, and then that shapes like who you are, and then the coastline shapes also how you surf and where you live, and yeah, it all just goes straight back into shapes. Like it all fits in there pretty well.
Can you make that like 400 hours long so we can just, whenever we are sick or it's raining and there's no surf and you want to sit down and you want to watch a movie, we could just watch that for the rest of our lives? Do you reckon there's enough in that?
There really would be.
There is,
like, you could pretty much make like part 1, part 2, and then go all the way into the hundreds pretty much.
Yeah, for sure.
I've got so many ideas that just pop up here and now.
What do you do with that? So when you're inspired by something, what's your process? Because I think this would be a really interesting one for other kids, like our little boy Minnow and other kids, to hear you talk about, okay, how do you have 100 ideas in your head today? How do you get some of them down on paper or actually happening in the world? What's your way of doing that? How do you choose?
First, I get them all and I just jot them down as quickly as I possibly can.
You write them down?
Yeah,
Yep.
and then once I've got like quite a couple, I'll start filming. And then, but also while I'm getting the, ideas and stuff, I'll also be filming just like little snippets here and there. And then when I start actually, once I've got enough of both of them, then I'll start filming actually for the movie. And then I've pretty much got all the film and stuff. Then I just put it together and add the like conversations and different things like that into it, and there's your movie.
Awesome.
It's pretty good.
Who's been the biggest inspiration in your surfing life?
I almost reckon that's really hard. I've
Okay.
quite a couple.
Give us a few.
Thomas Bexton.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been really nice and, helped and given me different ideas. And whenever I really need help with anything, he's up to help.
And he's a shaper of beautiful
Yeah,
surfboards
he
up
makes
your
some
way.
really nice boards.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always quite welcoming. Like, he'll be like, oh, hey, I've got this. How thick should I make this? Or what should I do here? And then he'll tell you and then help you through it. And then it's pretty easy
Awesome.
when you got his help.
Yeah.
And my dad's helped me a lot, like got me quite into surfing and then helped me shape my first boards and made boards for me and introduced me to like, new boards and different things like that. I reckon George has for his ongoing inspiration for surfing and surfing life. Also about like the different ideas that he has come up with, I often find have like inspired me to go on like another journey. I remember him, and I was thinking about flexible boards when Tom Wagner said, oh, come down to the beach and we'll have a little mix up with our boards. And I'll be like, oh, I was like, wow, I'm stoked. And I went down there, and I remember the first day I rode a finless. It was really fast, hollow, too fast for any other board kind of wave. And on my first one, I was like going so fast, and I didn't really exactly know how to control it. And then I slipped right out, but then it grabbed its rail again, and it brought me back around in, and that really made me think of the different like rail designs for those boards and then the flex and stuff. I mean, I think before I heard about George, I would have been like, oh yeah, that'll be interesting, and I would have gone down, oh wow, this board's a bit crazy, and had a little go. But I think it really, really got me inspired to ride some very interesting boards.
Well, it's endless, isn't it? It's just endless.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you. It's so cool that all those possibilities are ahead of you.
And how lucky that you have parents who think that surfing's so amazing and that you should be doing it. I had parents who were like, when I got into my 20s, they were like, when are you going to stop doing this silly thing? Like, you're not getting money from it. You're not like making a career out of it. It's never going to pay your mortgage. What are you doing?
That's like possibly the worst thing that I'd ever hear in my life. And I don't think I'm going to hear it. I don't think I'll ever hear it. I think I'll hear, hey, Hunter, surf's good today. Go surfing. I'm like, oh, yeah, time to go.
What about when the veggie patch is really struggling and you got to do some work in the garden, but the waves are good? How are you going to handle that one?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the best time, surf, and then when it, once I've had enough of that,
Does that happen? Do you get enough?
I don't, but when I feel like I physically have to go in, I will. Like, sometimes I'll surf for, 6 hours straight and then go and get food. Or, there was one day when I surfed for, I think it was about 10, 12 hours, and I went in for one peanut butter sandwich, and I was cooked. But I was so stoked.
Okay. What's the best thing to eat after you're totally surf cooked? What's the most delicious thing you can eat?
Wheat Bix and anchovies.
Together?
Nah, not together.
Okay, that I was going to say. I've never heard that before.
That's your secret to success. That's how you're so lit up.
Imagine Wheat Bix anchovy sandwich.
Oh.
Can you try it?
You could not eat that.
No, I usually, while I'm making the Wheat Bix, I'll pick out, half the thing of anchovies. And they're really nice because they're salty.
Yep.
And then you get something really sweet, like milk on your Wheat Bix. And that really, it's okay, I've stopped surfing. Just calm down.
That's
Then
good.
is it nap time? Is it nap time then? Or no?
Then it's
Back in
go
the-
home and read.
Go home and read, yeah.
Nice.
What a
Good
treat.
balance.
That's a great...
Or, possibly even go fishing or something like that.
Okay.
That's quite nice.
I think you almost described one of George Greenough's perfect days right there.
I was going to say, I'm really seeing the parallels here.
I've seen those cereal boxes in his house. And big lumps of fish laying around. Oh, it's such a treat to chat with you, Hunter. And one of the things we love about being able to do this podcast is have great chats like this and also think about how they can be useful for other people when they listen to them, that you might learn something. And I'm sure a lot of people will pick up something that they hadn't thought of before and something new from listening to your stoke. Yes, Lauren?
If you were going to put a message on a billboard about surfing that you feel like everyone should know about what surfing is or what it means, what would you put on the billboard? Like a line or a slogan or something
The
like
exact thing that I put on my first surfboard. The best surfer is the one having the most fun.
Time is precious. Thanks for spending some of yours listening with us today. Our editor this season is the multi-talented Ben Jake Alexander. The soundtrack was composed by Shannon Soul Carroll, with additional tunes by Dave and Ben. We'll be continuing today's conversation on Instagram, where we're at Water People Podcast. And you can subscribe to our very infrequent newsletter to get book recommendations, questions we're pondering, behind-the-scenes glimpses into recording the podcast, and more via our website, waterpeoplepodcast.com.